Central nervous system. It consists of brain and spinal cord. Sensory impulses are transmitted and from which motor impulses pass out. The nervous system is made up of nerves and ganglia outside of the brain and spinal cord. These nerves extend to our limbs and many other of our sense organs. Autonomic nervous system. This is part of the nervous system that is responsible for the control of the bodily functions such as the digestive system, breathing, and heartbeat. Somatic system. It is a part of the peripheral nervous system. It also connects the brain and spinal cord to the voluntary muscle system. Neurons. A neuron is a nerve cell. They are specialized in carrying messages like nerve impulses. They are attached to the neuron is dendrites and axons. Cell body. This is part of the neuron containing the nucleus. It is not incorporated in the axon and dendrocytes, but it is also called soma. Dendrites. Dendrites receive impulses or electronical messages for other neurons. It is attached to a neuron. Axon is connected to the neuron, and axon is a part of the nerve cell that carries or passes along the impulses which comes from the cell body, the neuron. Neurotransmitters. This is a chemical by which a nerve cell corresponds with the other nerve cells in the body and with the muscle. Node of Ranvier are little spaces or openings between each myelin sheath. Also, the node of Ranvier are really enriched in ion channels. Sensory receptors is a nerve ending that responds to stimulation. We have lots of sensory receptors in the dermis or epidermis of our skin. Sensory receptors help us to see, hear, taste, and smell, and touch. Effectory fibers. In the nervous system, effectory fibers can carry nerve impulses from receptors to sensory organs towards the central nervous system. Efferent fibers. Efferent fibers carry signals to the muscle and organs or glands. They tell them what to do. Motor neurons is a nerve cell that takes impulses from the brain or spinal cord to the muscles or glands. Intraneurons. This is a sort of nerve cell that is found entirely within the nervous system. It acts as a tie between the sensory neurons and the motor neurons. Sensory neurons. Sensory neurons, they bring information from sensory receptors. They carry information about the senses like your eyes, ears, and things like that, and from within your body like your stomach. And then there's bipolar neurons. A bipolar neuron has two extensions. They are part of the taste, smell, and sight and hearing sensory pathways. Unipolar neurons is a type of neuron in which by one physiological process is sent from the cell body. Our neurons contains lots of dendrites, and it processes a signal, and it has one axon. Neurogula is a delicate network of branch cells and fibers that surround and support the central nervous system. Myelin. This is a combination of proteins and phosphate forming a whitish shaft around the nerve fibers, increasing the speed in which the impulses are conducted. Microglia. They are small cells forming part of the support structure of the central nervous system. Dendrocytes is the wrapping of myelin around the nerve axons and nerve fiber. It helps it pass on the nerve impulses really quickly. Astrocytes. This is a very interesting star-shaped ganglion cell of the nervous system. Epithelial cells. They are a type of cell that lines the central canal of the spinal cord or the brain. Schwann cells is a cell that covers the nerve fibers in the peripheral nervous system and forms the myelin sheath. Fibrils. This is one of the delicate threads that are running through your body in the nerve cell, forming the myelin shaft. Bodies are found in neurons, and they are wrapped in a endoplasmic reticulum. Is a delicate membrane covering of a nerve fiber. It forms the outermost layer of any nerve fiber. Gray matter. This is a dark gray tissue in the brain and spinal cord, consisting mainly of the nerve cell bodies and branching dendrites. White matter is the tissue of the spinal cord and the brain, and it contains mostly of nerve fibers and their myelin sheaths. Frontal lobe. It's the biggest part of our brain. It's sitting right up here in front behind our forehead. It controls motor activities, speech, mood, and thinking. Parental lobe. This is part of the hemisphere that is the preposition and the interpreposition of touch, temperature, taste, and muscular movement. Chorial lobe. It is responsible for hearing and listening, and it takes sensory information like speech from the ears and sounds. Also, you are able to comprehend or understand talking. The lobe is at the back of your head. The occipital lobe mostly controls vision and seeing. Sensory areas. This is an area of the cerebral cortex that receives different nerve fibers from the lower sensory and motor areas. Association areas is one of the divisions of the cerebral cortex. It is the largest part, and it links and coordinates sensory and motor areas. Basal nuclei. Its job for the body movement and coordination. Also, the neurons mostly affect some diseases are located in the basal nuclei. Florid plexus is a network of blood vessels in each ventricle of the brain. It projects into the brain and secretes the cerebrospinal fluid. Deciphylon. This is the convex part of the forebrain containing the epithalamus, thalamus, hypothalamus, vertical thymus, and the third brain ventricle. The hypothalamus is between the thalamus and the midbrain. It is the main control center for the autonomic nervous system by controlling sleep cycles, body temperature, appetite, and stuff like that. Optic tract is a pathway between the optic chiasm and the brain. Cerebellum is a funnel-shaped part in your brain. It's made of bright posterior pituitary glands. It is part of the endocrine system, and it is located in the bottom of the brain. And it controls hormones, some of the body hormones. Insula. This is a group of collisions found at the base of the lateral figure of the brain. Then there are the mammillary bodies. The mammillary bodies are a pair of small, little round things in the underside of a brain. They are important for the recollective memory. Pineal gland also, it has a part job in the clock of your body, as I call it. It controls effects such as when you wake up or sleep. Also makes a hormone called melatonin that helps keep the body's clock. Brainstem. This is the central support of the brain consisting of the medulla oblongata, pons, midbrain, and continuing downward towards the spinal cord. The midbrain is one of the three parts of the brainstem. The midbrain is one of the three parts of the brainstem. It is in the middle of the brain and it is part of the central nervous system, linking with vision, motor control, sleep, and wake, etc. Pons. Pons' job is to connect the lower part of the brain to the upper part of the brain. Also, it helps send messages from the cortex and the cerebellum. It also carries and brings back signals from the nerves into the brain and from the brain back to the nerve. Medulla oblongata. This is the connection of the spinal cord within the skull, forming the lowest part of the brainstem and containing control centers for the heart and lungs. Cerebellum. The cerebellum is a major part of the brain, being on top of the medulla oblongata and underneath the cerebrum. It coordinates voluntary movements, posture, balance, and muscle activity. Reflex arc. It is a nerve pathway and its parts in reflex action. Meanings. This is the three membranes that lines the skull and the vertebrate channel and encloses the brain and spinal cord. Arachnoid matter. Arachnoid is it's the middle of the three meninges. It is a fine, delicate membrane that surrounds the brain and the spinal cord. Dura mater. Dura mater is the toughest, fibrous membrane that envelops the brain and spinal cord. Pinna mater. This is a vascular membrane in what is invested in the brain and spinal cord internally. Cerebrospinal fluid. It is a fluid that coats the spinal cord and the brain. Also, the cerebrospinal fluid protects the central nervous system. Cerebellum. This is part of the brain that is believed to where thoughts occur. Hemispheres is either of the two halves of the cerebrum. There's the two sides, there's right and there's left. They are connected by the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is a broad band of fibers joined the two hemispheres of the brain. Gyri. It's like the rounded edges on the surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Fissure. This is a natural division or groove in an organ, as in the brain. Resting potential. It is a potential contrast across the membrane of a normal cell at rest. Threshold potential. Threshold potential is the critical level to which membrane potential must be depolarized to make an action potential. Action potential. This is a short-lasting event which the electric membrane potential of a cell rapidly falls and rises.